It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of December 8th, 2000. We got a ton of movies to look at here, 5 in particular, so let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Vertical Limit. So Vertical Limit is this story where you have this young climber, played by Chris O'Donnell, who must launch a treacherous and extraordinary rescue effort up K2, the world's second highest peak, confronting both his own limitations and the awesome power of nature's uncontrollable elements. He risks his life to save his sister, played by Robin Tooney, and her summit team in a race against time. The team is trapped in an icy glacier at 26,000 feet, a death zone above the vertical limit of endurance where the human body cannot survive that long. Every second counts as Peter enlists the help of a crew of fellow climbers, including eccentric, reclusive mountain man Montgomery Wick. That's a great name for you, who's played by who else but Scott Glenn, to ascend the chilling might of the world's most feared peak to save her. This is directed by Martin Campbell, who gave us GoldenEye, Casino Royale, The Mask of Zorro. He's a really good action director, and it's because of him I think this movie really stands out more than it would usually do. I mean, this is a guy that is known for making pretty good action movies in general. Plus, I've talked about this before. I just love watching snow on the big screen, especially in a movie like this, like something like an Everest or something like this movie in particular, because it's amazing to watch snow like this on a gigantic screen and to see like the elements coming at you this way. And I really do like this movie. I don't think a lot of people really do particularly enjoy. This is one of those ones that was heavily criticized by the fact that Sony had a critic called David Manning. We've talked about him before. They basically made him up, and he was putting positive reviews for these movies here. Sony was basically doing that, and I think this was one of the last films that happened before they finally figured out who this guy really was. But the movie itself is really fun. It's a very lackluster plot in general, but the action sequences I think are very well done. It's because you have a guy like Martin Campbell who can make this stuff work, and you do get invested in the adventure. You do feel like you're up in the elements here, and it really does a fantastic job of handling that. Casting overall, it's fine for what it is, but nothing too spectacular about it. But you really do watch this mostly because of the action sequences in general. I think they're for the most part done very well. I think you do get a lot of sense of intense adventure in this. I think it works very well on those elements. I really enjoy this one a lot. Vertical Limit, not a great movie by any means, but it is fun to watch, especially for the stuff. Mostly because I am a snow fanatic, and I do like movies like this, where you get to see these snowy mountains and these grand venues out in full here. I mean, I think it's a very well-made film. So with that said, on to our next movie, and that is Mel Gibson, Meg Ryan, and Russell Crowe in Proof of Life. So Proof of Life tells the story of Meg Ryan. She hires a professional negotiator to obtain the release of her engineer husband, the negotiator played by Russell Crowe, and the husband played by David Morse, who has been kidnapped by anti-government guerrillas in South America. This is directed by Taylor Hackford, who of course gave us An Officer and a Gentleman, Against All Odds, White Knights, Devil's Advocate, a really great director. And Tony Gilroy, this is one of the films he wrote, I believe. No, he was kind of right in the middle of his success, because his first film was back with The Cutting Edge, and a good cast overall here. A good cast, good director, good writer. I mean, this should work, but it really doesn't. It's a film that really just falls into very much predictable territory. Nothing too incredible or anything is interesting whatsoever. It's not an engaging story, and honestly, this is one of those movies where the behind-the-scenes antics really took control of the movie overall, because of course Meg Ryan was dating Russell Crowe at the time of this movie coming out, and there was a lot of controversy behind that, and it didn't help that the movie itself didn't live up to the high expectations they had set for this. I mean, Russell Crowe was just coming off of Gladiator. He was on his way to winning that Oscar for that year, and then you have this movie coming out. Kind of took a little bit of the positive energy coming out of Russell Crowe that year, but I mean, he did eventually win the Oscar overall, but it was also kind of the final nail in the coffin for Meg Ryan, because she didn't really make a ton of really big movies like this after this point. I mean, she had a couple here and there, but she kind of went away after this movie. I can't remember any other movies in particular except for In the Cut and then In the Land of Women. After this point, that she became more notable for. I mean, she just came back recently with the film she did with David Duchovny, which I can't remember what it is now, honestly. But What We Already Know, I think it was called. But yeah, this was kind of the beginning of the end for her career. I just wish it was a better movie to go off on, unfortunately. But yeah, Proof of Life, pretty generic film. Nothing too crazy, nothing too incredible about it. Just kind of there. It's just a boring film. So yeah, on to the next movie. And this one's anything but boring and not a good movie, but for a number of different reasons, as you're going to see in this trailer for Dungeons and Dragons. They didn't even try to hide how bad this movie is. I mean, my God, the effects in that trailer alone would be more than enough for me to stay the hell away from this movie. But you have the story of an empress who wishes to get hold of a mythical rod that will help her fight an evil wizard, and enlists two themes for the help. The empress, played by Thora Birch, the evil wizard, played by Jeremy Irons, and the two thieves, played by Marlon Wayans and Justin Whalen. That's right, Andy from Child's Play 3. How the hell did anybody think this movie was going to be successful? Because it wasn't. This thing bombed pretty badly. And in fact, this movie didn't even get a theatrical release, American distributor, until 3 months before it came out. This New Line Cinema basically bought the rights in August of 2000, and they basically bought it. They bought it for the date. They wanted to release it in the spring of summer of 2001 to set up more licensing and tie-in deals, but Warner Brothers wanted to get it out of there pretty quickly, and as Ain't It Cool News' Harry Knoll suggested, New Line basically made the deal to excite the fantasy film fan base into a much larger production with The Lord of the Rings, which would come out the year later, and still not a reason why you should have picked this movie up. This movie should have been dead and buried, and yeah, it's a bad movie. It's a really, really bad movie. This is unbelievably bad. This is a mess of a film. Like, the only reason you should watch this movie is for the over-the-top performances from people like Jeremy Irons, who really is just like going insane with this and just saying, screw it, I'm going to get something out of this. And he delivers some of the best moments in the movie because of how over-the-top he takes it. But other than that, though, no, this is just a bad film. And if this was the movie they were trying to get people excited about Lord of the Rings, this could have backfired really big time if Peter Jackson didn't deliver on this. In fact, I'm pretty sure Peter Jackson looked at this and said, "Oh dear God, I have to make this work somehow." And sure enough, hey, Lord of the Rings worked, but that's a year from now. We will get to that one when we get to 2001. But I digress. Dungeons and Dragons, not worth it. Definitely not worth it. But let's get to some good movies that came out this weekend. We have Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I mean, where the hell did this movie come from? This is a film that really came out of nowhere and really became one of the big surprises of the last half of the year of the 2000s. But in early 19th century China, in the waning years of the Qing dynasty, the renowned swordsman who yearns for enlightenment, Li Mu Bao, decides to give up his legendary Green Destiny sword, the sharp 400-year-old blade of heroes. To mark the end of a bloodstained career, he entrusts the excellent female warrior Yun Shun Li with the precise weapon to deliver to Governor Yu. However, once there, an audacious and nimble masked thief manages to steal it, as Xu Li is hot on the trail of the skilled burglar, unrequited loves, fervent passions, an unconquerable desire for freedom, and bitter loose ends stand in the way. And you can't really talk about this movie without talking about the amazing choreography. I mean, this is the film that really shows you what international cinema can really do. This is a film that really took a lot of people by surprise at how well this movie turned out, because, I mean, just the visuals alone, the fight choreography, just top-notch stuff. And this is Ang Lee at his best. This is what got people excited when they said he was going to do the Hulk, and then look what happened with Ang Lee's Hulk. But this was a movie that really showed you what this director can really do, and he really did a phenomenal job with it. A phenomenal cast that includes Chang Yun-fat, Zhang Ziyi, Michelle Yeoh, just incredible cast, a really good storyline that you can easily follow. It feels like it could be really complicated, but it really, you can really figure out you can pretty much figure out what's going on pretty quickly and really not get too confused on it. And like I said, the action sequences, the martial arts sequences, the fight choreography, just top notch. I mean, there is nothing more about this film that I really need to say to anybody, but I mean, it really is. It's really that great of a film. I mean, like I said, I really don't have too much more to say about this one. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, fantastic film. Can't recommend this one enough. So that's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Now let's move on to the last one we have here, and that is Guy Ritchie's Snatch. This is, of course, Guy Ritchie's follow-up to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. You have a story of the London criminal underworld, where they combine two intertwined plots, one dealing with the search for a stolen diamond, the other dealing with a small-time boxing promoter, played by Jason Statham, who finds himself under the thumb of a ruthless gangster, played by Alan Ford, and willing to have his subordinates carry out severe and sadistic acts of violence. You also have people like Brad Pitt, who plays an Irish traveler, Benicio del Toro, Dennis Farina, Lenny James, Robbie Gee, 80, Vinnie Jones, just an incredible cast in general, and this is what we look for when we look for a movie with Guy Ritchie's name on. And I mean, when we think Guy Ritchie, you think of a film like this, very stylized, kind of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, has its own unique style of shooting these action sequences, and just the way he films this films everything. Like, it's really good stuff. It's a very funny film, a very smart film, just a really solid cast overall to really make it stand out. It's just a great film in general. Again, there's not really much more I could say about this one that hasn't already been said. This is what we look for when you think of a Guy Ritchie film. And it's definitely one of his strongest films. No question about that one. So yeah, that is Snatch. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll head into the middle of December next time with 6 movies. Another big week for movies, including Mel Gibson and Helen Hunt in the romantic comedy What Women Want, Ashton Kutcher and Seann William Scott in the big surprise hit, Dude, Where's My Car? Disney's The Emperor's New Groove. We also have Lasse Hallström's Chocolat, and also Marcia Gay Harden in Pollock. And I believe Ed Harris is also in there too, and I think that's it. I thought we had more than that, but I thought we had 6, but 5 more movies, so basically what we had this week. But another big week for movies that we'll take a look at next time around. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. And don't go too far away, because coming up next on Time About the Movies Flashback, we're flashing back to July of 1988, July 29th to be exact, with 3 big movies, including Tom Cruise in Cocktail, George A. Romero's Monkey Shines, and Dennis Dugan directing The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking. So we'll take a look at those 3 films on Time About the Movies Flashback, which will be posted right after this.